Shalom lekulam and welcome to lesson number 24 on the book of Zohar. We're still in the introduction of the book of Zohar section, the donkey driver. In this section of the donkey driver, we have so far touched base on many different subjects and things that when you study Kabbalah in a deeper way, you're gonna find all this symbolic language. And with this article actually help you or help us understand what is behind all those symbolic words and what actually is happening behind what we call the physical reality that we're living. The last time we ended up on item number 92 on the donkey driver. If you are, like I have mentioned in other previous lesson, if you're using the Kabbalah Center Zohar, that will be the first volume, and the item will be the same one, item 92, because the Kabbalah Center Zohar is based on the Baal HaSulam commentary, and it is a Baal HaSulam commentary just on a bridge version. Doesn't have the whole thing there, right? Because it will be more volumes than just 22 volumes. But it's I think it's the most complete Zohar version that we can find when it comes to the Baal HaSulam commentary itself. And there's another version that you can find that is kind of like more for advanced students. And this version is not printed yet in books, but you can find them in another Kabbalah group called Bnei Baruch. And in there you're gonna find, if you go to the Zohar section, you're gonna find also the Baal HaSulam commentary on these sections in a more in-depth concert. It's just a translation of what the Baal HaSulam actually wrote for each of these items. The version that we're using is based on a more short version of that long version that you're gonna find in Bnei Baruch, and it's a little bit longer than the version that you're gonna find in the Kabbalah Center. So we're gonna start, like always, we're gonna start with our intention. So we're going to start by concentrating on this letter. We will scan these letters from right to left, and as we scan this letter from right to left, what we're gonna be doing is just concentrating on the intention of changing our egoistic nature into an altruistic nature, and concentrating on understanding and knowing that as we study the book of Zohar, we're not gaining knowledge, but what we are trying to do is to reveal the light of the Creator to the whole world. And that's the whole purpose of studying the Zohar, is to break the darkness that is surrounding these lights, these sparks that have fallen, and make these sparks free so the whole world can enjoy this light as well. And how does that start? It starts by breaking away from our own personal darkness. As we are studying the Zohar, we need to think that we are egoistic beings, that our nature is egoistic, and that is our darkness. But it's also our strength, because if we transform this desire to receive from for ourselves, and then we can start thinking about and creating this intention of changing this desire to receive into a desire to receive in order to give, in order to impart and share the light of the Creator, that will mean that we're breaking this husk, this peeling off this darkness that is surrounding us, so we can reveal the light of the Creator. And that's what the Zohar is all about. That's why the Zohar is called the Zohar, the Book of Splendor, because it's all about revealing the splendor, the light to the whole world. So I'm gonna give you a few seconds to scan these letters. These are names of God that are being filled with other names of God and things like that. You don't have to understand what is in there because it will make no sense anyway to the regular mind. Uh, but it will make sense to your subconscious and spiritual being. And like it is taught in Kabbalah, when you scanning the letters, you're scanning the letters, and this is just like in the corporeal life that we're living. You go to a store, they scan a barcode, and this barcode has a whole bunch of information about an item when you're buying it. This is the same thing when it comes to spirituality. When you scan the Hebrew letters, there's a whole bunch of information and revelation in these letters that you don't have to think consciously that it exists in there. You don't have to know. You just have to receive that. These letters will open uh, different kinds of doors so you can receive the revelation of the light in your life. So I'm gonna give you a few seconds, and then we're gonna do the prayer from the Ari before we study the Zohar. Ruler of the universe and master of all masters, the Father of mercy and forgiveness, we thank you, our God and the God of our fathers, by bowing down and kneeling, that you brought us closer to your Torah and your holy work, and you enable us to take part in the secrets of your holy Torah. How worthy are we that you grant us with such big favor, which is the reason we plead before you, that you will forgive and acquit all our sins, that they should not bring separation between you and us. And may it be your will before you, our God and the God of our fathers, that you will awaken and prepare our hearts to love and revere you. And may you listen to our utterances and open our closed hearts to the hidden studies of your Torah. And may our study be pleasant before your place of honor, as the aroma of sweet incense, and may you emanate to us light from the source of our soul to all of our being. And may the sparks of your holy servants, through which you revealed your wisdom to the world, shine. May their merit and the merit of their fathers and the merit of their Torah and holiness support us, so we shall not stumble through our study. And by their merit enlighten our eyes in our learning, as it is stated by King David, the sweet singer of Israel. Open my eyes so that I will see wonders from your Torah. For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. May the utterances of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, God, my strength and my Redeemer. So, like I mentioned before, we're going to be starting on item number 92. That's where we left the last time. We're going to go over this item again, just to have kind of like a connection with the previous lesson that we have a few weeks ago. So, Raf Pa'alim is also Mekapsiel. Mighty of Deeds is of Kapsiel. So where did this great and precious tree, which is greater than all, come from? From which grade? The verse repeatedly states of Kapsiel, which is a high and concealed grade that neither has the eye seen. It includes everything, and it gathers everything it receives from the supernal light, and from it everything goes forth. So what are we talking about here? So according to the commentaries we're going to be using, it's going to be the commentary of the Baal HaSulam. And according to this commentary, Malchut, the Nukba, is also called Mekapsiel, because he receives and gathers all this light from Yesod within its vessel. So Yesod is called Rav Ba'alim, which is the mighty of deeds. This degree emerges from a sivug or coupling that is called the supreme and exalted tree that originates from Yesod and enters Malchut. The Zohar then explains that, in order to show us where the degrees come from, that the name is Mekapsiel, gathering is used, right? And Yesod accumulates all this upper light and pass this light to the Nukva, which is Malchut. And both Yesod and Malchut are called Mekapsiel. So Malchut Nukva is called Mekapsiel, but also Yesod and Malchut together are called Mekapsiel. And the degree that emerges from this unification of Yesod and Malchut is called none but you have seen the Creator. Okay, so neither has the eye have seen, in our version that we have in the screen. This degree emerges when a complete correction has been achieved, and at the moment of attachment of the final correction that completes all the degrees. Therefore, this specific degree is defined as all-inclusive because it collects all the lights that is being revealed through the course of 6,000 years and manifests all at once in a correct form. So what we see here, and we mentioned before, is that this performing of many actions indicates that it includes in it the mad. The mad is the ma'indruchim, which is masculine water, and includes all these masculine waters of all the good deeds and all the degrees that were revealed through these 6,000 years. And what are these masculine waters? The masculine waters are the answer that we receive from the Creator when we do our proper corrections and we do a proper prayer. Prayer is a request for the light, and that request from the light is called an ascension of the feminine waters. And when we do this request of the light, which is called prayer, we receive an answer from the Creator, which is called the masculine water. Now, these degrees that we mentioned, they all manifest as one integrated light, and as they enter Yesod, so you have to see basically that you have Chesed, Geburah, Tifaret, Nesachot, and Yesod, and then what you're gonna see is that all these lights that are in those 6 Sephirot, including Yesod, accumulate in Yesod itself, and from Yesod they go and enter Malchut. And this is why Yesod is called the mighty of deeds. Let's go to item number 93. And this is the sacred concealed temple into which all the grades are gathered and concealed. The body of this temple is where all the worlds are gathered, whereby all the holy hosts are nourished and sustained. So this is where we're gonna enter once again into a deep explanation, because there's this parsuf that we talked previously in our previous lessons, and that parsuf is called Atik. You have Harin Camping, which is part of this parsuf, but this is now, this is a parsuf that is different. This is a parsuf that has no restriction, at all, when it's created. However, um, it's the parsuf that actually gives the light to all the other parsufim that we have that we have in the bottom. When we say bottom, is symbolically, right? So we're talking about Atik. So Atik appears after the Shevirah HaKelim, which is the breaking of the vessel. After the Shevirah HaKelim, uh, Atik is in a state of embryo, it's a state of ibur, right? And that's when, and this is kind of advanced, that's when there's a sivug or coupling in the Reshimot, 1-0. And then when there's another coupling in Reshimot 2-0, which is more egoistic, then it becomes a kind of like a state of childhood or being born, right? It's still katnut, it's still a smallness. But then when it does the sivug into a more egoistic desire, that's the 4-3, that's when we see a state of gatluk. I take in this in a state of simsum aleph. When we say in a state of simsum aleph, means that it's not restricted by simsum bet. Simsum bet is the restriction that happened after the breaking of the vessels, in which there was a parsa created to which the light was not supposed to pass to the most egoistic vessels that are below it. Okay, so but this is the thing, this parsuf basically is not affected by the Shevirah HaKelim, even though here we see the bur, the katnut, and then there's a process, but it's not affected. It can send the light all the way down. But because it's not affected, all these egoistic desire cannot receive any light for themselves in order to correct what was breaking or what broke in the Shevirah HaKelim. So in order to receive from this parsuf, within the parsuf itself is gonna be a restriction, what we call atik, in the state of simsum bet, with the restriction itself. Atik appears as if it was in a restriction, even though it's not restricted, right? And it sounds contradictory and confusing, but this is how the spiritual realm is. Okay, it's not restricted, but because of, once again, this is a key word that you need to understand, because of the love for the lower ones, right? It appears that it's restricted from our point of view, but from its point of view, it's not restricted. So within itself, it creates other parsuf like Aren Camping, Abba Ve'ima, Seramping, and Malchut, and that's the world of Atzilut. Then there's other words that come from it, and that's the Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. And these are basically 6,000 years or 6 days or weekdays. And Atzilut is considered the Shabbat or the 7 millennia. And that's something that we need to keep in mind, that this is what we're talking about this processing here, what happened after the breaking of the vessels. Okay, so when it says all of the degrees gather in the spiritual sacred and concealed hall, where everything is concealed, all of the world are inside that hall, all the holy forces are sustained and revived by it and are dependent on it. So that's verse 93. So concealed temple into which all the goods are gathered and concealed. The body of this temple is where the words are gathered. The body of this temple is, So the version I was reading, it sounds more easy to understand. So let me read it again. All of the degrees. Let me go back to the graph so you guys can follow me. All of the degrees gather in this supernal, sacred, and concealed hall. So Atik is considered concealed because we cannot, right? It has nothing to do. It's considered independent from everything else. All of the worlds are inside the hall. So you're going to see Asilut, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. and everything is concealed, meaning that light is concealed from us. All of the world are inside the hall, all the holy forces are sustained and revived by it, and all are dependent on it. So even though we don't kind of like have any connection to reveal that parsuf, we know about that parsuf by its actions, and that's the actions of the parsuf, which is called the 7 days. 7 days, which is the word of Atzilut, Briah, Yesira, and Asiyah, or Shabbat, and the 6 days or weekdays, and the 6,000 years of corrections that are within it. So the Zohar talks about this head of Atik, Rosh the Atik, where all these degrees and all this light and all the words are concealed and concentrated in it. It also says, that there's a coupling that can occur or happen for the final correction, and it will combine all these degrees, emerging one after another one after the 6,000 years of correction, and all of a sudden, all these degrees, all these all the force, all this light is going to appear at once during the 6,000 years of the existence of the world, or the 6,000 years of correction. And this is during that state in which the worlds are in a constant state of ascents, descents. And in our experience, this happens in this way. For those above, right, when they look down, all the degrees exist, they don't disappear. But since we're coming from the degree of the 6,000 years of correction, as we move up, we don't feel that change. And because we don't feel that change in our perception, it is as if the previous degree disappears. So it's not there. It's kind of like it disappears. And this happened because of the egoistic nature of the lower degrees, the egoistic nature that we corrected during the time that we were in a lower degree as individuals and also as humanity. And this is why for us it seems that we cannot retain these degrees permanently, right? And when we ascend, this degree disappear because it is a world that we have ascended, right? From Asiyah, let's say we ascend to Yesirah, it seems like Asiyah disappeared. But in reality, it didn't disappear, just Asiyah ascended with us to that level of Yesirah. Once we have reached Yesirah and we ascend to Briah, Asiyah and Yesirah ascend to that level of Briah. But for us, because of the egoistic nature that we have until we correct and we can see everything correctly, for us, this world, which is the word for world is olam, and comes from the word ha'alama, which means concealment. For us, it's not revealed yet, it's concealed. So the Creator, during these 6,000 years, seems like everything is concealed. That all this world appear, it's from Atik all the way to our encamping of Aveimas and Malchut from the spiritual world is concealed from us, but also or ascend and descend through these 6,000 years, we don't feel it. And this is why it is important for every person that study Kabbalah not to measure themselves against other people, because we don't know in which level we are when it comes to spirituality. Nobody knows where you are in the spiritual ladder. Nobody knows where I am in the spiritual ladder. So for us to compare each other, that would be equal to judging each other, which is forbidden. We cannot be judging each other because we don't know. We don't know. Our corrections are different anyway. We have different tikkun, right? A different tikkun. Not the correction of one person is the same as the other one. So this is why we're not supposed to, because that's concealed from us. Unless we achieve this revelation from the light, in which we know what's our tikkun completely and absolutely, that's different in the sense that we know what we can do when it comes to ourselves, but we don't know about the other people. And the same way we don't know about what level are we and what level are other people in this spiritual ladder. So for us, uh, whenever a degree disappears, it's only according to the sensation of the person that achieves this new degree or higher degree. This degree ascends to the head of Atik and hides there, and it hides there in order to join all the degrees. And then when at the end of all these corrections, right, all these degrees on all these corrections or all this revelation, everything is going to appear all at once, right? It's going to appear all at once to us, and then we're going to say, oh, now I see, what I was missing. I was going through all these different steps, with all these rungs in the ladder, but I didn't see myself going up. In fact, in Kabbalah, and this is what this article is so important, because it reveals a lot of this information that we study in Kabbalah. In Kabbalah, every time you go higher, sometimes it doesn't feel like you're going into a higher degree. It feels like a descent. Why does it feel like a descent? Because your soul knows that there's a higher level that it needs to achieve, it needs to attain, and it still feels like, even though I achieved this other rung in the ladder, I still below. I still low. I feel lower because I'm not there yet. It's kind of like a shame that it feels. Okay. So, in this way, or in the same way that Atik gathers all these degrees to reveal them during the 6,000 years, and hides them, conceals them within itself until that time of the end of correction, till Gamar Hatikun, in order to reveal them all at once. When it corrects the last portion of what it must correct, the Parsuf can no longer sing. What does that mean? It means that it cannot longer receive in a selfish way, receive for itself. It no longer needs to sing to correct the next portion of egoism, hence its final degree remains permanently, and it doesn't disappear. Atik gathers all these degrees, and they all manifest then all at once. During the 6,000 years, Atik is seen, or is described as, that we cannot attain that level of that light of Atik. And this is what is called Radla. Radla is an abbreviation for the Aramaic word, or the Aramaic name, which is Reisha de lo Etiada. Reisha de lo Etiada means the unattainable head. Reisha means head. De lo Etiada, it just means the one that is unattainable. The name Atik comes from Etak, which means isolated, separated from the lower ones. Because according to the perception of the lower ones, it does not shine any light to the lower ones. Even though it accumulates all these lights that emerge from itself, and then it becomes revealed, to these lower worlds, that light of the Gamar Hatikun, the end of correction, remains concealed in it all the time. And then after each degree disappears, due to the egoism of the lower degrees, it ascends to the Rosh, the Atik, and conceals itself there. The Guf, the Atik, meaning the body of Atik, from its Peh, which is the mouth, downwards, is located inside all the other Parsufim of the world of Atzilut. And these levels are attainable by the souls right here. Okay, so you got Atik, and then Arikamping, Abaveima, Seramping, and Malchut. These can be attained, and by attaining all these degrees, we can attain Atik. So we don't know how Atik is, right? Because of our egoism, this is hidden from us. It's concealed. But by the corrections we go through the 6,000 years, once we reach that Malchut of what is called the world to come, paradise, Gan Eden, whatever you want to call it, or the millennial Shabbat, then we will know that light. That's why it's hidden from us. So, by clothing itself in the Parsufim that exist in this world of Atzilut, Atik then can shine the light of creation through them and give this light to the lower ones all the way to the worlds of Biyah, which is Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. And any light that shines on creation during the 6,000 years that are the 6,000 years of correction, this light comes from the body of Atik and not from any other spiritual source. Whatever is present in the head of any Parsuf manifests in its guf. That's a law inside the spiritual realm. So, whatever manifests in the head of Atik, it will manifest in its body. Whatever manifests inside Aren Camping, it will manifest into the body. So Aren Camping inside itself has Abaveima, Seramping, Malchut, right? Inside Abaveima, you're gonna find that there's a Seramping, there's a Malchut. Inside Seramping, there's Seramping, Malchut. Inside Malchut, there's Malchut. But inside Malchut itself is kind of Aren Camping, right? It's a Keter of the worlds of Biyah. So you're gonna have Malchut as Keter, you're gonna have Bria as Abaveima, Yetzirah as Seramping, and Asiyah as Malchut. So all that is inside the head of Atik, it's basically kind of like a fractal. It repeats itself all the way to the lower realms. So this is true in regard to all the Parsufim of the world of Adam Kadmon and all the Parsufim of all the worlds, except, and this is where it gets confusing, except in Parsuf Atik. Why? Because Atik remains in Tzimtzum Aleph. All this light, it's not restricted by the Parsa. It goes all the way down with no problem. It's not restricted by the breaking of the vessels or anything like that created this second constriction, second Tzimtzum, right? And this light is sent all the way to our world. But in regards to the Parsufims below it, Atik acts or behaves as if he was in a state of Tzimtzum Bet, and he has the seemly or kind of like a false sense of restriction that the Lord wants to see on Atik. By making a special coupling on itself and the light from it, by making this special coupling or sivug, which is the hitting of that light in the masach of Atik, the light from Atik then can descend to the lower worlds. The light that comes to revive the world is called the sustenance. Sustenance. In Kabbalah, you're gonna hear a lot about Parnassah. A lot of people think Parnassah is about let's pray to God for Parnassah, because we need the sustenance. We need to make sure that we have the money, the food, and that kind of stuff. And it's confusing some people, because a lot of people think it's all about because we need to pray to God or concentrate on a certain name of God, of the 72 names of God, in order to get the sustenance of every day, when in reality what we're talking here is about light. It's about the sustenance, or what is called the Or Hasidim, which is the light of mercy. And that light will come to stimulate the growth of those parsufins and turn a small parsufin that is in a state of katnut, in a state of restriction, into a parsuf that is going to be in a state of gadlut, which is a state of greatness. And when that happened, the Or Hasidim, which is mentioned before, Or Hasidim is basically Bina channeling the light of Chokhmah. The Or Hasidim take that Parsuf and turn it into Gadlut, and that's when the light of Chokhmah shines within the Parsuf, within the vessel of that Parsuf. And these two lights originate in the body of Atik, the Guf de Atik. Or Chokhmah, which is the life of wisdom, which make this Parsuf in a state of Gadlut, for big Parsuf, is called the light that elevates the Parsuf, because the position, let's say when the position, this is also good to understand as you read the Zohar, you're going to see people are sitting, people are walking, people are laying down, people are standing. The position of laying down is called Ibur, embryo. The sitting position is called smallness, Katnut, and the standing position is called Gadlut. So in this case, it's like the Parsuf is sleeping, it's laying down, so it's Ibur, and now the Parsuf is standing. It elevates itself from the ground up, and is considered Gadlut or Chokhmah. Okay? So let's go to the next paragraph. It's going to be 94. I'm going to read two different translation in order to make it more understandable. I'm going to read the one that is in the screen and the one that I have in the book, okay? He slew 2 lion-hearted men of Moab. 2 temples existed and were sustained on his account, the first temple and the second. However, as he was gone, the flow from above stopped. So seemingly it is as if he slew, destroyed, and ended them. Now, and the next translation says, he slew 2, Ariel, which is lion-hearted man, right? Ariel and Moab. 2 holy temples existed thanks to Atik, and received from it the first temple and the second temple. Since Atik's disappearance, the process that stemmed from above has ceased. It is as though he struck and destroyed them. What does this mean? It means the following, and I want you to put in your mind, I don't have it in my graph, but I want you to put in your mind a famous graph that is out there about concentric circles in Kabbalah. And each of those circles are a world or a sephira, right? And in the very middle of that, those concentric circles, is Malchut. Malchut is what we need to correct. But within Malchut, there is a Malchut. So only that Malchut, the Malchut, needs to be corrected, and nothing else. All the other properties, they don't need to be corrected because they're considered spiritual properties. This Malchut, the Malchut, is the Malchut of Olam Ein Sof, the world of infinity. This is the one that felt the chain, right? That made all these restrictions. And it's the one that all these things are happening. All these worlds are existing within it, right? And all this dynamic it's happening as well. Now, Behinat Dalet, or this level of fourth level is called Nukva de Serampin, or the female of Serampin. It's also called Parsuf bone. Uh, so it's here. So in here you have Galgalta, which is equivalent to Keter, Ab, which is equivalent to Hokmah, Sag is Bina, and this is where things start getting interesting, right? Because in Sag you're gonna find um, where other worlds are created, and then the Shavira Hakilim start happening. Then Ma, which is Serampin, then Bon, well, where all this fixing of whatever happened after Sag, happened, is supposed to happen. So Bon is basically Malchut, is considered, the female to Serampin, which is Ma. Okay, so Bon is the it's considered the only creation. It's basically the creatures that the creator uh, um, has created. Is the will to receive. uh, it's created in a way that it wants to receive only for itself. It is a selfish desire, and his desire is the one that caused the breaking of the vessels. It is within this desire that the sin of Adam happened and the breaking of the soul of Adam happened, which is called the fall of Adam, in which Adam broke into many pieces, and now we need to put these pieces back together, put this soul back together by trying really hard to comply with the law of loving your neighbor as yourself. And in this way, we love the Creator, right? So, all the work of those who want to achieve connection with the Creator during these 6,000 years, it's all about this Malchut. And when this correction happen, when we do our correction individually and then collectively as one man, one soul, right? When we become Adam again, then this level of spirituality, because even though it's egoistic, still spirituality is created by the Creator, right? It's just that we see it, we call it physical reality, but in reality, it is a level that is spiritual. Then this vessel, this type of egoistic nature that exists within creation, will go back again to a previous degree that it was before the breaking of the vessels and before the sin of our soul, the sin of our collective soul called Adam. And because of the great revelation that will happen after this is done, this basically this is the way, because of when that happened, when a correction is made. Let me put it this way so you can understand. Whenever we do a correction, that is called a coupling. That is called the light is hitting or masach, meaning we have an intention to receive in order to give, and there's a correction. When this correction happens, something is revealed, something is given, right? There's some light that go inside the vessel, or pinimi, and then there's some light that's still in potential, which is the makif, which is the surrounding light. But the light that is used, to correct and all kind of stuff is considered revealed. And as a result of this coupling at the end, on what is called Sinsum Aleph, which is the first restriction, when it was at this level, the head of Atik will be revealed to us. Then we will know what is actually sustaining us. And that's what we call the Creator. So even though you see this graph here, The creator is not this, the creator is who created that. But this here is the creator of this other parsuf called Ab, and this parsuf is the creator of Sag. So every level that is above us, every level that is above each parsuf is considered its creator. Okay? And it's a desire to give. And when you look at the desires or the parsuf that are lower than that, they're considered a desire to receive, even though from our level they might be considered desire to bestow. Okay. The light of this coupling that we were talking about makes or helps man divide and see things between impure desires and pure desires, and in this way get rid once and for all of all the egoistic desires. And this says exactly what is written in Yeshayahu, according to Baal HaSulam, when he says, he will eradicate death forever. What is death? So death is not a physical body dying, going to the grave and things like that. Death in spirituality means no presence of light inside the vessel. A vessel that has no light is considered dead. Because Parsuf Bon, which is Malchut of the world of Atzilut, it's considered at the time corrected, completely corrected already. It doesn't require any more corrections. The Parsuf Bones ascends to the level of Parsuf Sag of the world of Adam Kadmon, and this Malchut then attains the property of Binah. And this is what we're going to be finding as we study Kabbalah in the holidays that we actually celebrate according to the Judaic tradition. Every time we talk about celebrating Passover, celebrating or talking about counting the Omer, when we are doing any kind of special holiday, it's all about this relationship between the Malchut level and the Binah level. Malchut is the egoistic desire, and Binah is the level that Malchut needs to achieve, which is an altruistic desire. And that's the whole process. The whole process is to convert ourselves into that Parsuf Binah, which is a Parsuf that stopped receiving in order to be like the Creator, to be a giver. But remember, this Parsuf then realizes, I need to receive in order to give. So he starts receiving once again in order to give, and that's when, the level of Ma, it's created, which is a level of receiving in order to give. And but it's a transitional, even though it's called Parsuf, it's a transition of completely altruistic to completely egoistic. And then for now, for us, this is considered, like the messianic consciousness that we need to achieve, which is to achieve this level in order to connect to the level of Sag, and that way we bring heaven to earth, or earth to heaven. Okay, and that's the whole process that we need to think when we're working in spirituality. Now, during the great Sivuk of Atik, and before this ascent of Bon to this level of Sag, or Malchut to Binah, the light of this level of this Parsuf called Atik stopped shining. Because of this, it is considered, or it is said, that the two temples were destroyed. The two temples are two lights of Chokmah, two lights of wisdom. The lights of Abba Ve'ima, which is called Or Haya, that shines on the first temple, and the light of Yesud, which is Or Neshama, that shines on the second temple. So let me go to the graphs. So You can. So first temple is Abba Ve'ima. Second temple is Yeshut. Yeshut is basically the lower portion of Bina. See it here, So you got Keter Chokma, then Bina is divided into Gar and Sat. So you got Bina, Abba Ve'ima, Chokma, and Gar de Bina is Abba Ve'ima, and Sat de Bina is considered what we call Yeshut. And Yeshut in itself has a Seramping and a Nukba, and that's what it's called. Yeshut is called Yeshut because it is Israel Saba Vetevura. Israel the elder and its feminine counterpart, right? So these are the two temples that are destroyed. What does that mean? That means that there's the life that comes from at encamping, in Atik. It does not shine in Serampim and Malchut, and even though here we were kind of like in the chest of the Parsuf, now the light doesn't reach what is called the raglaim or the legs. Doesn't reach lower. It's just in a small state, right? In a small state. However, all this destruction and disappearances of the light are corrections and are considered, great advances in order to achieve the complete correction. They don't signify devastation. They actually signify that the process of correction is happening, and they happen because of the correction that needs to happen in order to ascend the Parsuf Bon, meaning Malchut, to Saga. After the destruction of these spiritual temples, the disappearance of the light, which translated later into the disappearance of the physical temples in our physical reality, they will be recreated once again above by the screen of Bina, which is called heaven. So this is a temple that basically comes from heaven, right? This is because the screen of this Parsuf Sag is of the property of absolute mercy and is completely not restricted at all in the actions. It only desires to give, and it doesn't receive the light of wisdom unless it is to give to the lower ones. As a result of this sivug or coupling, right, the two temples will be restored once again. And not only they're going to be restored once again, they're going to be restored forever. And the light of the moon will be shining as the light of the sun. The light of the moon is Malchut, and the light of the sun will be Bina. This is from Yeshayahu chapter 30. The light of Bina, which is now the light of Seramping, is called the sun, will be 7 times more powerful because of the Sat, the Atik, the 7 lowers of Atik. Let me see if I can. So you have Atik, and Atik, like all of them have a Gimel Rishonim, 3 upper ones, and it has also Vak, which is 7 or 6 lower ones, or 7 lower ones as well. So the same thing that you see here in this, Atik has the same thing. So the 7 lower ones of Atik, right? From there, this light will descend to Abba Ve'ima. Abba Ve'ima meaning Chokma and Bina, and create the first 7 days of creation, which is Seramping and Malchut, right? Seramping will be called the sun, and will become like Ab and contain the light of Guf de Atik. Malchut will become like Seramping and receive the light of Seramping, which is the light of the sun. So back to the graph. So Seramping, which is Ma here, will basically be ascending to the level of Ab, Bon will ascend to the level of Sag. So that will mean that Bon, which is the moon, will receive the light of the sun by achieving that level, and it will shine, just like it says there. Um, the Seramping, called the sun, will be 7 times more powerful because of the seven Tachtanon, the seven lower ones, the Atik. At the end of correction, a Sivuk on Malchut herself, uh, which is a primordial egoism, will become into a particular Sivugim that were made on all the lives through all these 6,000 years. It will not be made in Malchut, but on her inclusion, meaning in its connection, we just saw it. But these particular Sivugim that were made in all these lives through these 6,000 years will disappear. The temple will be restored from heaven, which means for Binah, because Binah herself did not wish to receive this or Chokmah. And it will not do that because she cannot. It's not because she's restricted. Let's put it that way. It's because she doesn't want to. It's a desire of itself not to do so. When this happens, this level or degree is called in the hands of heaven. This means that when we, for example, that when we do the blessing for the new moon and in the beginning of each of the Hebrew month, the Hebrew calendar, we say life which contains the fear of heaven and the fear of sinning. This life is above our reasoning and desires, for it is said that faith must be above reason. And keep that in mind. Faith above reason. Otherwise, sin will ensue. Meaning that if we have faith above reason, faith without thinking, faith without calculating why am I gonna get out of this, that's the kind of faith that we need to have. And there's no other desire other than go with faith above reason, and this is because the person should be afraid of sin. When I say afraid of sin, it's not like you're scared, just that your desire is not to once again be on a level that you have to be continuously in these corrections, right? However, there's a higher degree when a person doesn't have to fear sin. And now this person has a screen, a masach, but he prefers to proceed by this level called faith above reasons and desires, because this person, this soul, wants to dissolve, become one with the upper one. The reason that the light disappears from the body of Atik before all these corrections in the two Malchuyot, in the two levels called Binah and Malchut, which are called Sag and Bon, is because after the Great Sivuk in Atik, Bon was annulled along with the screen of Sag, and Guf, the Atik, contains the connection between Binah and Malchut, designed for this interaction in the 6,000 years. As a result, the interaction between Malchut and Binah is an opportunity that arises in a partial way and little by little corrects Malchut. In this Sivuk that is mutual between Malchut with Malchut, emerge basically Malchut acquires these properties of Binah little by little. Atik in the beginning creates Arin Hamping, then all the other parts of the words of Asilu and Bia. So you have Ari Camping, then have Ima Seramping and Malchut. Okay? And the screen of Malchut, which is the masach of this parsuf called Bon, disappears. The screen of Binah, which is the masach of Sag, also disappears because it is like if they were merging together, like they're together. In the absence of Malchut and the disappearance of this screen, the coupling or the hitting of the light stops. And all the light of Guf de Atik that comes from this kind of coupling on the mutual screen of Malchut and Binah also disappears. This is why the light is considered that it descended from its Guf called temples and it disappeared. This light that descended from Atik disappeared and the temples also disappear. In the head of Atik, the Rosh de Atik, there's a sivug on Malchut of Sinsum Aleph. And this is what is happening right here, right? So we're talking about this state of Katnut, in which the two temples are destroyed, right? Because the light doesn't shine all the way down here. Now there's a Sinsum right here in this more egoistic. When I say egoistic, it's not that it's evil, okay? It's just that it's a Malchut. Let's put it that way. It's a end. And in this Rosh Atik, a sivuk is made of Malchut of Sinsum Aleph, merged with Binah and existing and exists for 6,000 years. The Malchut or the screen of Malchut disappear, and as a result, the light disappears as well. Malchut hasn't ascended yet to Sag to receive her perfection, and there's still no new light. This complete absence of the light is called a destruction. However, Malchut then receives a light of Avi, and the worlds of Bia merge, and the world of Atzilut. Okay? So, this is when Atik at Sinsumbet appears, and all these then happen. It's kind of confusing, so I will invite you to read it over and over, especially this item 94, or listen to this, over and over. But basically, just saying, that when Atik doesn't shine all the way down, it's considered as a destruction, right? And the only way, that we can attain that light is through the body of Atik. But that light is kind of concealed, restricted by the olamot, or concealments, right? Or the worlds. And at the end of correction, through these 6,000 years, as we correct, all these things that are concealed and we see as level by level, like a ladder that we need to climb, it will be all revealed as one. And that's when we're going to see the whole light that was always present in this Atik. And that is considered basically that when we are in that level where Malchut is combined with Binah, where Malchut attains these qualities of Binah, the final correction, which is from the level of egoism to the level of altruism, which is receiving in order to bestow. Okay? So in the next lesson, we're going to continue with item 95. This is a very long article, but it has, a lot of information that is very useful for those of you who want to continue studying Kabbalah in a more deeper way, more in-depth way. Okay, so I hope you have enjoyed this lesson. Hope to see you in the next lesson. And make sure you share this video, like it, subscribe it. That's the way we can spread this wisdom throughout the world. You don't have to pay any money for this lesson. The only way you can pay is by giving a thumbs up, right, and liking it, and sharing it. And like always, I'll see you in the next lesson. I hope you have learned something new and that you continue with us in, in this journey through the Zohar and starting to learn, what the Zohar is all about, which is all about spirituality, not about just gaining knowledge. It's about learning why we're here, how we're gonna reveal this light, and how we're gonna share the light with everyone else. Not for egoistic desires. That's the thing. You hear a lot of Kabbalah teachers out there. All the talks about how you're gonna be happy in life. Kabbalah doesn't promise happiness. If Kabbalah promises happiness, I'll be the first one in that list. But it's not like that. Kabbalah promises correction, and correction is not always something that is gonna bring you happiness and things like that. But it's gonna bring you light, and within that light, even when bad things happen, you feel the presence of that light, the support, and that is considered real happiness, not material happiness, spiritual happiness. Okay, and that's a big difference between um, spiritual attainment and material attainment. So just be careful out there. There's a lot of people preaching Kabbalah in order to uh, tell you that you can fix your financial life or personal life, using Kabbalah. Yes, it might happen, but first you need to change yourself. It's not Kabbalah is not magic. Kabbalah is a science. It's a science that will teach you about the laws of nature, the laws of spirituality, and how to follow them. That's all. It's not magic potion or anything like that. We do meditations, and those meditations are basically like to reprogram our subconscious in order for us to work properly in this physical realm. Nothing else. Um, as long as you have the right intentions, which is the intention of learning in order to open yourself to the light and then share that light to the other ones, Kabbalah then it will be magical for you. It will bring you happiness. All right, that's all. I'll see you in the next lesson. Shalom.